Most buyers think they know what it costs to buy a home until they get to the closing table and realize that they're short thousands of dollars that they never planned for. I've seen buyers budget perfectly for their down payment and still get blindsided by hidden fees and expenses that no one explained clearly. And the worst part is that most of these costs are not optional. So before you start house hunting in Bowling Green, I'm going to break down the real cost of buying a home, the cost you expect, the cost you don't, and how to plan for all of them so nothing catches you off guard. And if you watch till the end, I'll give you a simple formula that I use to estimate how much cash a buyer really needs before writing an offer. If we haven't met yet, I'm Nikki Adams, and I help buyers navigate the home buying process right here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. One thing I focus on with every client is making sure that they understand the full financial picture long before we ever make an offer. So let's break this down step by step. Let's start with the cost that everyone expects, the down payment. For most conventional loans, the minimum down payment is usually around 3 to 5%. And if you want to avoid extra fees like PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, then most buyers aim for closer to 20% down with a conventional loan. FHA loans typically require 3.5% down, and if you qualify for VA or USDA, then you could pay as little as 0% down. Here's what it looks like on a $300,000 home here in Bowling Green. 3% down is around $9,000, 5% down is $15,000, 10% down is around $30,000, and 20% down would be $60,000. But here's something many buyers don't know. The loan type you qualify for depends on things like your credit score, your income, and your debt-to-income ratio. Those factors determine which loan program you're eligible for and what your down payment options actually look like. And remember, the down payment is just the beginning. 2, inspections and due diligence cost. Before closing, I always recommend getting a home inspection. A general home inspection in Bowling Green typically ranges around $500 to $600 or more. On top of that, many buyers choose additional inspections. There's options like termite inspections, radon testing, sewer and septic scope, HVAC and roof inspections, and these can add up, but skipping them can be much more expensive later. Inspections are one of the most important ways to protect yourself from costly surprises after you move in. And whether the home is brand new or 50 years old, an inspection is absolutely worth it. You want to know exactly what you're buying before you close. Now let's talk about prepaids and escrow. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of the home buying process and expenses you pay up front for things you will owe after closing. This usually includes your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, your mortgage insurance, and the money your lender uses to set up your escrow account. Your lender often collects several months of these costs up front, and depending on the timing, this can add several $1,000s to the cash that you need at closing. This part alone surprises a lot of buyers. Next, we have closing costs. These are the second major expense when buying a home. Closing costs usually run about 2 to 5% of the purchase price, and that means on a $300,000 home, you could be looking at $6,000 to $15,000. Closing costs cover things like lender fees, appraisal, underwriting, title insurance, attorney or closing fees, and recording fees. Here's the good news. A great agent can often help negotiate some of these costs into the deal so that the seller pays for a portion of them. It's not guaranteed in every situation, especially in a competitive market, but it can make a big difference in what you bring to the closing table. Either way, understanding these costs up front is key to avoiding surprises later. 5 is moving cost. After closing, you still have to get moved in, and this is another cost that adds up really quickly. This includes professional movers, truck rentals, packing supplies, and deposits for utilities. If you're relocating from another state, your moving costs may be several $1,000s depending on the distance. This is where working with a great agent helps again. I can tell you which moving companies are reliable, which get the job done quickly and professionally, and which ones you may want to avoid. Number 6, initial home expenses. Even in a move-in ready home, almost every buyer spends additional money in the first few months. Furniture, appliances, minor repairs, painting or cosmetic updates, lawn equipment, blinds or curtains, home security, or smart home upgrades. These are rarely included in a buyer's budget, but they almost always show up after closing. Number 7, full cost summary. So when you pull it all together, the real cost of buying a home includes so much more than just your down payment. It's the down payment plus the closing cost, plus the prepaids, plus inspections, plus moving, plus your initial setup expenses. Understanding the full picture allows you to buy with confidence instead of feeling overwhelmed at the closing table. Let me give you a real example. I worked with a buyer here in Bowling Green who saved exactly enough for their down payment. They were really proud, they felt prepared, and they were ready to go. But when they received their estimated closing disclosure from the lender, they needed an additional $5,000 for prepaids and escrow setup. This completely shocked them because no one had ever explained these costs. This is exactly why I walk my clients through every number before we even start house hunting. No surprises and no last-minute panic. Now finally, let's get to the formula. If you want a simple starting point, here's the formula that I give my buyers. Take your down payment amount, add 3% to the purchase price for closing cost, add 2% for prepaids and escrow, and add 1% for inspections and moving. This will not be an exact amount, but it will get you very, very close. So if you are thinking about buying a home in Bowling Green and want a personalized breakdown of what your total cost would look like based on your price range, reach out to me. I'd be happy to walk you through the numbers so you know exactly what to expect before you start your search. If you found this helpful, like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who's thinking about buying a home in Bowling Green. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.